Hello there. Welcome to Bridging the Geekdoms. I'm your host, Robert Slavinsky. And we got a show for you today. There's a good bit that we're going to go over. Right now, I am by myself. We will see if that stays course through the entire episode or not. Hopefully, Ken does show up. Hopefully, I'm crossing my fingers that I'll be able to make it. I know he's had some work things to do. And I tell you what, my lighting is way wonky today, but that's fine. It is what it is. All right. Now, before we get into the show, for those of you who don't know, our show is pretty simple the way it works. The first 20, 25 minutes, 30 minutes or so is dedicated to a few hot topics from the week or the past couple weeks. It'll consist of possibly reviews, newsworthy items, reactions, so on and so forth. After that, we then get into a main topic. And our main topic this week is something I think a lot of people are kind of concerned about. And I don't think I don't think that we have to be concerned, but I think a lot of people are. And that is if David Zaslav is actually improving DC film and TV and all of that jazz. Is Warner Brothers Discovery going to survive with what they are doing right now? And I think that's kind of the question on everybody's mind right now after what has come over the past few weeks. But before we get into that, because I am really excited to talk about that, let's go over our few hot topics that have popped up over the last couple weeks. First and foremost, I want to talk about She-Hulk because, well, She-Hulk came out last week, the first episode, and there's this whole thing right now with what people call review bombing on Rotten Tomatoes, on IMDb, on Metacritic, on everything. There's this thing that people call review bombing. And this isn't anything new. It seems something like this had started years ago, really, back 2014, 2015, 2016, somewhere around there. This all started to become a thing. And it seems now that it's more of an excuse than studios and fans of properties willing to take a loss. That isn't to say that She-Hulk is bad. I actually enjoy She-Hulk a bit. However, I do have some issues with it, and they're valid issues. There's valid reason to be upset with some of the things that are going on in She-Hulk. First and foremost, Tatiana Maslany, I think is how you say her name. She is absolutely great as She-Hulk and Jennifer Walters. I think every scene that she's in where it's her as the main focus, coming to grips with her new life, trying to juggle being She-Hulk, being a lawyer, I enjoy that. And I want more of that. I also love the fourth wall breaking. That was something that I was really hoping that they would lean into. And in the first two episodes, they've done it a little, not as much as I would like, but I think they've done a decent job with it. However, the parts that really just aggravate me, and I think have aggravated a lot of other people when it comes to this show, is the man bashing. And yes, I'm going to call it man bashing. I mean, this is a very real issue with this show. It is absolutely absurd and unneeded. It's not needed at this point. We're in the year 2022. And in this country, in this world, there's always this ongoing feud between races, between genders, between anything and everything. And it's getting ridiculous. And this show is pushing that narrative and causing a further divide in a way of these female versus men type of mindset. I will not disagree that in the past, in the workforce, there was an issue with gender equality. There was an issue where men would always get paid more, that men were always seen as the smarter, the more intelligent. That's how it was back in the day, but it is not that way anymore. You might find little bits and pieces of that nowadays, but let's take a look at this. This is a show about a lawyer. Now, what is going on in the world right now is with all this gender crap that's going on in the world, the lawyers and firms of this country are right in the middle of that. So to take a show like this that is about attorneys, is about a woman trying to come to grips with who she is, to create a character that he's only there to make men look bad is not doing a benefit to the main character, to any character, to the show, or anything. There is legitimately a character in this show created where he's just a womanizer. That that's that is so like 1995 writing and filmmaking. And I'm not saying that it was right back then, but it is sure as hell not right now. You add that on top of how badly they've written the Hulk as well, and how they've set up Jennifer Walters to be better than the Hulk. And you start to realize that they are pushing an agenda, and their agenda isn't to say, look, females can be just as great as men. They can be just as powerful as men, as strong as men, as intelligent as men, because that is what they should be pushing. Because we know women are intelligent, women are strong, women can do things, amazing things in this world. But to simply make it where, oh, she is better than all men. She's better than this guy. She's better than her cousin who's been a Hulk for the last 11, 12 years. She's better than everyone. That is a disservice to the character, to the characters on the show, to the actors on the show, and to the show itself, and to anybody watching the show. If they were to remove that aspect, if they would get rid of that whole idea of trying to make her, oh, I'm better than every man, this show would be top notch. After the first 2 episodes, I've enjoyed it. It's those moments that I just talked about where I sit there and it's pointless. You don't need to have that in it. It's 2022. Yeah, 2022. I don't know. I don't even know what year it is anymore. But come on. This is absurd. And personally, I honestly don't think that Marvel should be going this route. But it looks like they are. And I know I'm probably going to get bashed. If anybody hears this, listens to this, watches this, whatever, I'm going to get bashed on because I am calling out the woke mob. And that's what they're going to say. But you know what? Enough is enough. I want to get away from that when I watch TV. I don't want to I see that on the news. I see that walking down the street. I see that in my place of work. I don't want to see it on a TV show that I'm watching. I want to be taken out of reality. I want to enjoy what I'm watching. Besides that, the only other issue that I have, and it's a minor issue, but where the hell did all these superpowered beings come from? They're talking about all these superpowered beings coming out of the woodwork, and yet they have yet to address this in the MCU. And I'm sure they will down the line, but it's kind of annoying because they weren't there before. It was a phenomenon that there was these Iron Man, the Hulk, and Captain America. And remember, Captain America is only a super being because he was given a serum. The Hulk is the Hulk because he was given a serum. Hawkeye doesn't have any special powers. Black Widow doesn't have any special powers. You take a look at these heroes. Yes, Scarlet Witch, sure. Wanda, she has special powers, but that's due to the Infinity Stones, according to the MCU. And then Peter, bitten by a radioactive spider, given powers. There weren't these beings in the MCU with just powers. So that is one of my other little issues with it. But I want to know your thoughts. Again, I don't hate this show. It has a lot of promise. But they need to get away from this whole aspect and idea of trying to make She-Hulk and Jennifer Walters better than every man that shows up on this show. That's ridiculous. That, to me, that is just ridiculous. And I don't normally get political on this show ever, but let's think about it. You have people out there, feminists out there, who claim they want equality. That is not equality. That is making characters lesser than you to stomp on the other gender. That's the problem I have with it. You don't stomp on somebody else to raise yourself up. That's not the right thing to do. And that's kind of what they're showing to do on this show. But in the comments, let us know your thoughts on She-Hulk, what you've thought so far. Again, it has promise. And I think Tatiana Maslany, she's doing a phenomenal job in the role. But I just want them to get away from. I just want to get them. I want them to get away from that stuff. I just do. All right. Well, let's move on because I don't want to stick on that. But this one, to me, this is really interesting. Over the last couple years, I've been talking since the pandemic, especially. I've been talking a lot about how theaters are struggling and how they need help. And it's not going to just be us. It's not going to be the people who love watching movies in theaters that are going to help these theater chains. No, it's Hollywood. And Hollywood needs to understand that because Hollywood benefits from theaters being around, theaters being open. That's where they make most of their money. And the fact that we're seeing theater chains possibly going bankrupt. Cineworld, which is the parent company of Regal Cinemas in the United States, is possibly going bankrupt. So let's take a look at this here. This is from The Wrap, and this kind of covers a little bit. Cineworld, the UK-based parent company of Regal Cinemas, is filing for bankruptcy, the Wall Street Journal reported on Friday. The news comes after Cineworld's stock price dropped by more than half this past Wednesday, which itself came after reporting lower than expected ticket sales. It goes on, despite a gradual recovery of demand since reopening in April of 2021, recent admission levels have been below expectations. That's what the company said this past Wednesday. These lower levels of admissions are due to a limited film slate that is anticipated to continue until November 2022 and are expected to negatively impact trading and the group's liquidity position in the near term. The spokesman for Cineworld told The Wrap of a bankruptcy filing that it was a premature, that the reports of bankruptcy filing was premature, and that the company was proactively evaluating strategic options at this time. Regardless, even if it's premature to talk about them possibly filing for bankruptcy here, this is a real issue when it comes to theaters. Are we seeing the beginning of the end of movie theaters, or at least multiple chains, or how we've ever seen movie theaters in our life? Now, AMC did respond to these claims, a completely different company, but they want to assure their stockholders, they want to assure the people that are investing in them that, hey, we're not having the same issue. And essentially, they responded saying with 2020, the remaining of 2022 is pretty bare with big releases, but they're optimistic for the rest of the year and especially the first quarter of 2023. So it's really interesting to see how these two companies are looking at things quite differently. Now, I know that in America, there's a handful of chains. I mean, you got Cinemark, you got Regal, and then you have AMC, and there's some other small ones as well. AMC is absolutely the biggest in the United States. Excuse me. But the fact of the matter is, if there's no competition, then everybody's going to just go to AMC, and then AMC will slack off. I mean, you need competition, but what is happening? Well, first off, ticket prices haven't been going up much over the last X amount of years. I mean, I can remember going to theaters to go see, back in 2015, going to see The Force Awakens, and I paid for 5 tickets? It was like $30, give or take a few dollars. Roughly the same amount now for tickets to go see a movie. But that's not where theater chains make their money. They make a little percentage off of that, and as the weeks go on that a movie's out, they make more percentage of that than the studios do. Studios make, I think, like 60 to 75% of ticket sales the first week or two, which is insane. It could even be more than that now. But where theaters really make their money is from concessions. And we know, a large popcorn in a pop, you're looking at $20. That's absurd. That's crazy. And I'm not saying that studios shouldn't be making their money either. But I think that cut of the ticket needs to be a little more fair. And that's where I think Hollywood needs to step in. And they need to say, look, making these billion-dollar movies, they make $1 billion off of some of these films. I get that they want them in as many theaters as possible. But I think in order to do that, they need to say, look, we want it in 10 theaters in every one of your theaters, AMC. But to do that, let's split it 50-50 for the first week. Give the theater chains a little bit more money. Again, maybe they do something like that. I don't know. I'm not there. I don't see what deals are being made. But I think regardless, I really believe that they need to find a way to get these theater chains some more money. I'm sorry. I have 6 kids. I've only ever taken at most 4 at a time to the theater. Buying food for 4 kids, drink, popcorn, candy, and myself, I mean, that's $80 right there. And I apologize, but I don't want to do that every single time. I don't. Luckily, there's also these subscription things. You have AMC A-List, you have the Cinemark, whatever. I mean, they all have their own loyalty programs now and subscription plans. And with AMC, the more you spend, you get some points, you can get some free popcorn, some free tickets, that kind of stuff, which is cool. I like that. That's a great idea. But that also hurts. That hurts the company as well, the theater companies as well. I've been saying for a while that they need to adapt. The theater chains need to adapt. I think the biggest thing that a theater should do to adapt is to kind of get away from the whole just being new movies. And some have done that. Some have been doing pay-per-view events, concert events, things like that. But I also think that they need to do some more. They need to redesign their theaters and have live events in their theaters as well. And what I mean by live is comedy shows and dinner theaters and stuff like that. They need to adapt in that way. And I don't know what the answer is and exactly how to do that, but if you really think about it, them going this direction, they're not going to be around forever. And that's the thing. When it comes to seeing movies, when it comes to seeing these superhero films, these big action, these adventure films, I want to see them on the big screen. I enjoy seeing things for the first time. And not only that, but I really enjoy watching these types of things with fans. I love that experience, that especially going to premieres. I won't say premieres, but the first showing of a movie at a theater, or that day, Thursday night showing. I love experiencing that first shock and awe with some of these films. And then I love going back with my kids, a day or two later, going again, but then sitting back and watching my kids experience it and seeing how they take it all in. And we could be losing that. There's no denying that movies cost too much to make these days. Movies cost 200, like these big budget films are 200, 300 million, 400 million dollars. I don't think they've gotten to 400 million dollars yet, but still, when you're talking about 200 million dollar films and then you put marketing on top of it, you're looking at a 500 million dollar movie. close to $500 million for a movie to be made and marketed. That's absolutely insane. What's going on, South Cali? I am having a very good day. Just kind of talking about what's going on with theater chains right now. But thanks for stopping by and leaving a comment. But yeah, I can't fathom what they can do to help these theater chains at this point, because they need help. They need help to stay alive, and theater chains are what are going to help it's what helps Hollywood succeed. If theaters fail, if theaters start closing down, Hollywood doesn't make as much money. I do remember, what was it? Oh man, 10 years ago maybe. This is before the streaming wars really got going, before streaming was even really all that big. So it was a little more than 10 years ago. Steven Spielberg was behind this idea of releasing films to the public via like a streaming service like Netflix or something like that for like $50. So let's just say Avengers comes out, and instead of going to the theater, you could spend $50, $60 and watch it at your home. People lost their freaking minds. I was somebody who was like, you know what? I don't hate that idea, because not every movie I want to go to the theater to see. But there are quite a few that I do want to see in the theater. But then he kind of rescinded that, and he went back. And since then, there really hasn't been any talk about doing anything like that until the pandemic happened. And when COVID hit and everybody was stuck in the house and these studios had movies sitting on the shelves that they couldn't get out, that they wanted to make some money, they're like, well, how can we make money? Well, let's put it on the streaming service, or let's release it via streaming and let people pay $20 to watch it at home. So like Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah, it released in theaters for a couple weeks, but it wasn't going to make much money because the pandemic started and that happened. Birds of Prey is another one. So they released it on streaming, $20, $25, something like that. You could watch it. People did that. But that's a disservice to the theater chain. We see that it also hurts studios big time. Take a look at what happened with HBO or with Warner Brothers and what they did with HBO Max last year, where they released every movie last year, day and date, on HBO Max. They lost millions and millions and millions of dollars. And we're going to get into that here in a second, because look at where they are now. They're struggling. They're struggling big time. So we know the success of these studios relies on theaters. So what can they do? The studios need to work with the theaters. This isn't going to be all on them. This isn't all on the theaters. They need to find a way to work together better. And I don't know the answer, because I think the theater chains, they have to come up with some ideas themselves. Like I said, adapt their theaters so some of their rooms are live performances, comedy shows, stuff like that, dinner theater shows. And then in your other theaters, have your typical films. Also, work with the studios and say, you know what? How about we do a big event where, in January or February, when it's kind of slow, let's do a big event for Star Wars or for Lord of the Rings or for Star Trek or for this or for that. And let's do a behind the scenes type of thing, or maybe a live commentary with these movies. And it's a one night event or something like that. Do different things in that regard to change it up a little bit, to see, hey, well, this worked. Does this work? Does that work? Again, the theaters are going to have to do some things themselves, but I think Hollywood also needs to help. Hollywood has to come in and say, look, let's take a look at these ticket sales. You're willing to show these films for us, but you guys need to stay open. We understand that. So maybe the cut that we take is a little lower. I don't know. I'm worried. I'm just worried. I'm worried that there's going to come a day where there's no more movie theaters. And then they will be putting movies on HBO and Peacock, and every single studio will have their own streaming service. But what they're going to do is they're going to throw it up there for $50, $60. It's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out, for sure. All right. Well, I do want to talk about one other thing here before we get into the main topic. I hold in my hand here something that I've been waiting a few years for. And you've all seen him on my show or heard him on my show, possibly. And you may even heard his podcast. Mr. John Horsley of Spoiler Country wrote and created, not just wrote, but helped create, write, do some artwork of something called the Eins Anthology. And it is an amazing, amazing anthology of stories. And I finally got my hard copy here. We are going to have him on the show, hopefully within the next few weeks. Once I finish reading through it, I've read through it once before. I'm going to read through it again, have him on the show and talk about it, because it is a really, really cool book. And I've had him on to talk about it before, but not since I've read the whole thing. So I'm really looking forward to that. He's a great guy. And this is volume 1. This is volume 1. So we have another volume coming, at least one more volume coming, which is real exciting. So be on the lookout for that episode. Next week, I do plan on doing an episode where we talk about Star Wars, the state of Star Wars, what's been going on with Star Wars right now. So hopefully that, barring any crazy news things happen, because I was going to do that this week. Actually, it was going to happen last week. Couldn't get a show together. I was going to do it this week, but then all this Warner Brothers stuff really just was newsworthy. So let's see. And South Cali says, gonna be some strange times ahead. And you're right. You're right. And it's just upsetting. Without a doubt, the pandemic truly hurt theaters. But even before the pandemic, it's funny because I used to write all the time for spoilerverse.com, which is our network website. And literally, like a month or two before everything happened with the pandemic, I had an article written talking about movie theaters. And I think I even did a video. You might find it on my YouTube channel somewhere, talking about movie theaters and the state of them at that point in time, and how we need to find a way to, like, they need to find a way to help, because you could see the writing was on the wall then that things were changing for the theatrical experience. The pandemic didn't help. And yeah, they did get some help financially from the government, and let's not act like the Reddit stock users didn't help AMC at all, because that really helped them about a year and a half, 2 years ago. But still, there's some crazy times ahead, strange times ahead for theater chains, for sure. All right, let's move on to our next topic, which, if I can find it here. There we go. So this is going to be our main topic. Warner Brothers Discovery makes more moves. I got to say, when I go online and I see Warner Brothers Discovery as like the headline, or Aquaman or Shazam or Black Adam, at this point in time, it's a safe bet. It's a safe bet that it's not good news. And that's kind of what happened just the other day. And the other day, it was revealed Aquaman and Shazam, their sequels had their release dates pushed back. Now, I heard about this a couple weeks ago, and I thought this was going to be during the big event, or the call that they had a couple weeks ago. I thought they were going to talk about that, because they talked about a bunch of other stuff. We also heard about Batgirl not too long ago being canceled. We're going to talk about Batgirl in a second here, but Aquaman and Shazam sequels get pushed back for their release dates. Basically, Aquaman Lost Kingdom has been pushed back from March 17, 2023 to December 25th, Christmas Day of 2023. And Shazam, where's that at? Shazam, which was going to come out this December, is taking Aquaman's old spot of March 17th, 2023. Here's the thing. The crazy thing about this, okay? Just, 2-3 weeks ago? We got word that they did reshoots for Aquaman or additional photography for Aquaman with Ben Affleck coming in and portraying his Batman, his Bruce Wayne in it. Because due to test screenings, it was confusing having Michael Keaton in there since this was coming out before the Flash movie did. Now it's coming out after the Flash movie. Unless they push the Flash movie back to 2024, which I don't think is happening. But there's something fishy going on at Warner Brothers right now. I don't get it. Besides this change, just a week or so ago, 36 HBO Max titles were removed from HBO Max due to them not being watched enough and Warner Brothers Discovery not wanting to pay the residuals for them. Reports are that Warner Brothers Discovery only has enough money to release two more movies this year. What are those two films? Well, Black Adam and Olivia Wilde's Don't Worry, Darling. Now let's talk about that real quick, because I just mentioned a little bit ago about how badly Warner Brothers got hurt by what Jason Kilar did when he said all movies in 2021 will be released on HBO Max day and date as the theatrical releases. They lost millions and millions and millions of dollars. Millions. Warner Brothers Discovery comes in and is like, okay, I got to save this company. What is it, like $2-3 billion he was trying to save the company this year? So he started canceling things. He started getting rid of things. And he canceled Batgirl. Now, that's not the only reason why he canceled Batgirl. There's some other reasons behind it, but he canceled Batgirl, which pissed off a lot of people. He pushed and delayed movies. I think a big reason why he delayed Shazam, especially, is it's not going to make the money it should make against Avatar 2. So that's going to hurt it. Plus, there's rumors that it wasn't quite ready VFX-wise. When it comes to Aquaman, there's rumor that there could be some more additional photography going on. I know a lot of people want them to get rid of Amber Heard. They want to get her out of it. So maybe they recast her, reshoot, whatever. Maybe not. Maybe that's not what they're doing at all. But there is this mystery film coming out in February. I can't remember what day. It's like middle of February. That HBO or Warner Brothers is saying is an event film in February. A lot of people are trying to say it's a DC movie. Maybe it is. Maybe not. Because it's just 6 months away, right? What is it? It's August, late August. So September, October, November, December, January, February. Yeah, 6 months away. What if, hear me out, what if the plan is to bring the Flash back to February? What if that's what they want to do? Like, think about it. Right now, Flash is due to come out the beginning of summer. That is prime real estate for blockbuster films. We know the Flash is going to make a lot of money, even with all the shenanigans with Ezra Miller. True or not, this movie is going to make a shit ton of money. Warner Brothers is struggling right now financially. They're struggling financially right now. What if they pushed Aquaman back and said, you know what? We're going to pull some people off of this. Let's get this Flash movie done. Let's get these VFX done. Let's lock this movie down and get it out in February. That first quarter of the new year, let's start it with a bang. Let's make a shit ton of money the first quarter between the Flash, Flash will come out. People will see it. Get excited. Hopefully. Get excited and then go and see Shazam a month later. Get even more excited. Get even more excited. You then have Blue Beetle come out that summer. Small release, not a huge release, maybe late July release, early August, maybe. Aquaman, the end of the year. By that time, they'll be showing their cards. Their cards will be shown. South Cali says, I'm sure Zaslav has a plan. I wouldn't know where to even begin with that plan, but I'm sure he's doing it for the betterment of the company. Sadly, too many just see it as he's going axe hungry. See, and I'm not one of those that think like that. I'm not worried about if what he's doing is good or not. I think what he is doing is good. Look, regardless of what people want to say, and honestly, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but honestly, I don't really care. Because let's face it, Batgirl being canceled was the right thing to do. It was. Ivory Aquino, I don't know who she is. I guess she was in or part of the Batgirl production. She said, just read an article, THR, about supposed funeral screenings of Batgirl and the possibility afterwards that the film footage would be destroyed. If this is the case, was one of many who poured our hearts into the making of this. And she goes on. I mean, look at this. She has a crap ton of posts. If you want to read them, go read them. But she's pleading to allow Batgirl to be seen. And the problem is Batgirl was canceled for these reasons here. One, it's a tax write-off. It doesn't fit in with the future of the DCU anymore. If what has happened these last few days or few weeks with Affleck coming in and shooting photography for Aquaman, then you have Jason Momoa, which I should have pulled that video up and showed it, where he just says, F it, Ben is back. He confirmed straight up, Affleck is back. We have some cool things planned. So Ben Affleck is back as Batman. How long? Well, that's to be seen, but he's back. So that seems like the Keaton aspect is probably not going to be the long term. It seems like he may be a one and done in the Flash film. So what was going on in Batgirl doesn't fit with the future of the DCEU anymore. Not only that, but if they do decide to release it, if they wanted to down the line, they would have to pay a tax. They would have to pay to release their own film because they got a tax break for it. I don't know if it's fines or additional taxes or what it is, but that's just more money they would have to pour into this film, which by all accounts isn't good. So why not, instead of sitting there and saying, look, release this movie, why not say, look, let's do the Batgirl film right. Let's do it right. Like, let's get this done. Why not? Rumor has it that they offered Leslie Grace to come back in a new Batgirl, as Batgirl in the role in a new project. Maybe they're like, look, maybe we can do something with this character and make it better. Do something more than what was happening with this movie. Make it fit the DCEU better. To me, that just makes sense. That makes sense. South Cali goes, I hadn't thought of them moving Flash forward. That's interesting. Look, I don't have any insight on that. That's my wishful thinking, okay? I think it would be phenomenal. I think that would be a fantastic idea because let's face it, the Flash is going to make a lot of money, but let's take a look. I don't even know what's coming out. What's coming out? Summer 2023 films. Where are coming out? We got the Barbie movie, you got Indiana Jones, Oppenheimer, Mad Max, Equalizer, Nothing crazy. Doesn't look like there's anything huge. Another Nun movie. Yeah, nothing crazy. So I mean that. Let's see, spring. Because let's face it. Mario spring. That was supposed to be Christmas this year, huh? I think got pushed back. Evil Dead, Little Mermaid, Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, I mean, John Wick, Fast and Furious. Nothing that it would be going up against that it couldn't beat in the spring or summer. But there's nothing coming out January, February. There's nothing. Why not? Why not just shock the world? Shock the world. This would do multiple things. It would get them money in that first quarter of 2023. Loads of money. You figure it's going to be $1 billion movie or close to it. They're going to make $400 to $500 million on this film. So that's huge. They can then put the Ezra Miller stuff behind them. And then he can get the help he needs. He can do what he needs to do to get better and quite possibly continue playing the Flash down the line. Or if that doesn't happen, they can recast and get that moving quickly. Get that done in 6 months instead of 10 months. I think it's a brilliant idea. Now, do they have the ability to do that? I don't know. And I will say, if I hear anything, I'll let you all know. But I really have no insight. I just think that would be the smartest move. Just get it all behind them. Get it all behind them at this point. But as South Cali said, when it comes to Warner Brothers Discovery, what Zaslav is doing, he's not doing this stuff to hurt the company. He's trying to save the company. This company was in a bad place. And being a DC fan, I don't like seeing these films getting pushed back and constantly. I've been looking forward to Shazam. That's the DC film I've been looking forward to the most right now. Speaking of Shazam, we got the 7th member of the Shazam family here with us. How's it going? Can't hear you. Nope, nothing yet. That's all right. Let him figure that out. But with him trying to figure that out, yeah, I mean, I wanted to see Shazam. I don't want to see these films being pushed back anymore. I want to see them now. Who doesn't want to see them now? But if Zaslav can actually do this and get them on the right track for the future, South Cali said that he's got a plan. He's got a plan. He's been making moves for a reason. Maybe it doesn't work out. But I can tell you right now that the outlook of Warner Brothers right now, especially when it comes to the DC properties, are 100 times better than it was a month ago, 2 months ago, 6 months ago. Let's see if it's working now. You there?
Can you hear me?
I hear you now.
All right. Can you see me though?
I see you. Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's coming up blank on my screen.
There you are. There you go. Now you're back.
Cool. What's going on, Rob?
What's up, man?
I'm like 10 minutes late, but I've still made it. I need to join this conversation for sure.
That's fine. So let me know your thoughts. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to know what you think of what's going on with Warner Brothers right now.
I want to say first that I preluded to this that I was going to go on a little bit of a rant, and I try never to. I try to keep it very objective, but if this doesn't point a signal towards the old regime of running a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate that for years has been known internationally, not even domestically, just internationally, as one of the main cogs in the entertainment industry, media industry, whatever, for the old regime to run this down to the point where they have enough, let's call it liquid equity, to only release 2 films for the rest of the year. Like, people think that the rest of the year is like tomorrow. We have September, October, November, December, and you have a bunch of releases happening that are, rival studio releases and stuff. And then we can go through a whole list of things that are being released that are obviously going to be big cash cows for a lot of these companies. But if this doesn't point to the old regime and just the way they do business and the way that they went about their business, and point to some of the things that we've heard behind the scenes of some of the DCEU as a backdrop, it's kind of really disappointing and shocking, honestly. It's really shitty, honestly, to kind of see Warner Bros., which has been, a mainstay in my life, to kind of almost be run down into the ground almost. And quite literally, who knows how close they were to filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy at this point. Like, it was kind of really interesting to see that's the limited cash flows that they have for the rest of the year. It's for Black Adam and another movie, correct?
Yeah, Olivia Wilde's Darling something or other. Hold on, I have it here in my notes. Maybe I do. I don't know. Oh, Don't Worry, Darling. Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's insane. It really is absolutely insane that the old regime ran it into the ground that bad. To think the properties that they have. I mean, if you think about it, Warner Brothers, they have the Kong and Godzilla stuff. They have Harry Potter. They have the DC. They have Looney Tunes, and a shit ton more that I can't think of right now. And they're that bad off. That's insane. That is absolutely insane. Game of Thrones.
I almost didn't believe it until I actually read the article that was reporting the details, and it was just really interesting, honestly. I could see there's rumors that they're going to completely delete immediately destroy the footage for Batgirl, which allows them from the IRS to get that tax break immediately. And some people say that's far-fetched, but given the report that just came out about their financial restrictions, I wouldn't be too surprised if that's if those funeral screenings are actually taking place in the back lot of the Warner Bros. Studio over there. So it's really shocking, honestly, and just a real testament to how far Disney has come as a company versus how much of a decline and steep decline that Warner Bros. Has kind of been on.
Yeah, it's a damn shame for sure, and that's why we have to trust what Zaslav is doing right now. I was just saying, it sucks. We don't want to see Shazam get pushed back. We don't want to see Aquaman get pushed back. But at this point in time, they have to do what's going to be best for the longevity of this company and of the brand. And if that means we have
monetary loss for long-term security at this point, because
exactly
at this point, it seems on the 2023 docket we're going to have 4 DC movies. Maybe they'll come out with a trailer this time and kind of stick to it, unlike the one that they had.
The Heroes one.
Yeah. So it's supposed to be. So it's Shazam in March.
Yeah. So Shazam is March 17th. And then Aquaman got pushed back to December 25th. But what else is coming out? Blue Beetle.
Okay, Blue Beetle. That's still slated for a theatrical release, or?
Yeah, that's theatrical release.
I'm actually pretty excited for that film. That's going to be an interesting way to maybe bring the Titans into this universe, or an iteration of the Teen Titans. So that's really interesting to me.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I mean, that would be 4 movies next year: Aquaman, Flash, Shazam, and Blue Beetle.
Have you spoken on the timing of the delay of Aquaman with the recent news that's happened there, or I'm just trying to catch up to see?
Yeah, I talked about it a little bit because, and we were talking in chat today, or you brought it up in one of our chats, and I had to jump in because I truly believe that I'm sticking with my theory that I put in there. I don't know if you saw it, but I would not be surprised if possible DC Kevin Feige candidate announced by THR. Let me see here. I'm not seeing anything. Hollywood Reporter. See if you can find it. But anyways, as I was saying, DC's Kevin Feige found producer Dan Lennon talks to take control of film, TV, I don't know who this guy is. I've never seen him before, but let's do this. And that's fun when breaking news happens, isn't it?
Right. That's this is a first. The
All
executive
right,
turned
let's.
producer counts hits such as the live action Aladdin, the Lego movie, and the It horror movies and talks.
Yeah, so the executive turned producer who counts Aladdin, the Lego movie, It horror films, is in talks to take the role of the DC chief, multiple sources tell THR. The role encompasses not just overseeing film, but television as well, with Lynn reporting directly to Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav, according to sources. The structure bypasses three separate division heads: Warner Brothers Pictures, Michael DeLuca, and Pam Abney, and HBO Max chief Casey Bloys, and Warner Brothers TV chair Channing Dungey, and puts control of DC in the hands of one person. Let's see. Walter Mata, the current head of DC Films, would transition out of the role, according to sources. If a deal closes, it would cap off months of one of the most intense executive searches in recent memory, one that faced scrutiny by rival Hollywood producers and executives as well as DC fans. Zaslav has said he was searching for Warner's own version of Kevin Feige, the famed Marvel executive who steered a rival comic book company's movies and then later its TV portfolio in a multi-billion-dollar pop culture juggernaut. And it goes on some more. But first off, I don't know this guy. Here's the thing. I'm not saying that he won't be good. I mean, I like Aladdin. I liked Lego Movie. I liked the It films. I liked. But what role did he really play in those? And not only that,
I think the article kind of alludes to him being under Alan Horn's tutelage, and I know Zaslav has kind of leaned a little heavy on Alan Horn to kind of in the paragraph.
Yeah, I'm reading it now. Yeah, Lynn's name rose late in the game, but he has a champion in Warner's advisor, Alan Horn, the former Disney chair who ran Warner as president and COO in the aughts. It was during that latter tenure that Lynn worked for Horn, starting as a junior exec and rising to senior VP of production. He struck on his own as producer in 2008, but not before shepherding movies such as The Departed, 10,000 BC. He also oversaw the infamous and aborted Justice League feature that was going to be directed by George Miller. Justice League Mortal, I believe is what that was called.
Release the Mortal cut.
Lynn is a respected producer known for his smarts and in a town full of hype and egos, his willingness to find experts on the fields that are not his forte. He has worked on franchises, the Robert Downey Jr. starring Sherlock Holmes movies, the 4 Lego films, as well as widely successful 2-part adaptation of Stephen King's It. His resume ranges from big offerings such as the billion-dollar grossing bright-colored Aladdin to intimate dramas such as the Oscar-nominated The Two Popes. He's coming off an early August release of Universal's Joe Coy comedy Easter Sunday. First off, everything that he's done that I've seen, I liked. So that's
I was just about to say, and The Departed is, I mean, obviously like a top 5 movie for me of all time. Like that's, I was really surprised to, I guess, just read that latter part because I was just kind of briefly skimming through it. But what I like is that there's a range, and I think that's something that DC can embrace is kind of a range of movies that kind of range from, you could have a palette that's similar to Marvel for certain movies like Shazam, because Shazam certainly the basic premise of Shazam is a kid being a superhero. So obviously you're going to have a lot more of a giddy old time over there, but there should be a range that keeps the main storyline of the universe moving forward. I know a lot of excitement in chat has been over Superman and Batman coming back or kind of returning to be the focal point, but it'd be really nice to see this universe get fleshed out in a way. And while I'll always love projects that revolve around that, I think having a wide range of things could really benefit this universe, with Marvel seemingly like being stuck in the sand a little bit with their formula kind of wearing off in a way.
Yeah. My only concern, and taking a look, because he does, he has TV experience as well, which is a key factor in the position. Lynn and his company executive produced the Lethal Weapon show, which I freaking loved. I was so upset when everything happened on that show, and they eventually had to cancel it. That show I thought was phenomenal. He also...
The Netflix Avatar.
Yeah. Yeah, so Walker reboot, which is on season 3, and then Avatar: Last Bender, the live action series for Netflix.
Okay.
So my only concern is, what does he know about DC? That's my concern, because let's take a look at it. Kevin Feige, everybody keeps saying we want the Kevin Feige, we want a Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige worked in comic book films from the late 90s for 10, 11 years. That's what he did. He worked with Sam Raimi on the Spider-Man films. He did was on the X-Men movies. He was in this, I think he was in that Hulk film. He worked, not in it, but worked on it. He did things with comic book films for 10 years before he was head of Marvel Studios and shepherding in the MCU. You're not going to find somebody like that when it comes to DC. You're not going to find anybody like that. However, I would still like to have somebody who knows DC.
It does say in the article that he is a respected producer, and I'm literally quoting this, known for his smarts and in a town full of hype and egos, his willingness to find experts on the fields that are not his forte. So that's something that, while he may be the overall head of things, I think maybe there could be somebody assigned that is directly under his tutelage that would have some sort of comic book experience. And, I don't know what Jim Lee's doing these days, but I know that he's deeply involved with DC at the moment. And I think he has a really good understanding of what the universe needs, what it's had, that this is my name being thrown into the ring for sure. You're not going to really find anybody that knows more about DC Comics than Jim Lee. So it's, I think that would be kind of a smart move, honestly, or at a time where Jeff Johns wasn't in the position that he was in now, that would be, or something that was tried. But I think Jim Lee would be an interesting option for somebody to directly work, not directly work under, but to work with Dan Lin and kind of collaborate and kind of see what this universe could be moving forward, with Zaslav seemingly wanting to bring back, I don't want to say the Snyderverse, but bringing back the Snyder characters in terms of Ben Affleck's Batman, Henry Cavill's Superman, and kind of making them the focal point of the DCEU, at least for the moment, until they could build something that allows them to reset and completely overdo their things and kind of figure out what they want to do with their own iterations in the next decade.
Yeah. No, and I'm cool with that, and I'm good. Like, if he gets the right people, because that's another big thing that Kevin Feige did, especially in the early days of the MCU, is he got the right people to write those films, to direct those films, and to work with. It's been hit or miss in the later years, but I think Kevin Feige's just spread too thin at this point. But when it comes to this, that's kind of my worry: is he going to be able to juggle everything, and how is he going to juggle everything? I get this want to have one guy, but I think when it comes to DC, I think it's going to have to be a team of people, where Dan Lin is the head of the team of people, but I think he's going to have to get those people to surround him that truly understand these characters, because it is, while yes, you're talking about superheroes just like Marvel, you're talking about otherworldly beings just like Marvel, but these characters are vastly different than Marvel's 100%. Characters. Yeah. And they need to be handled properly. And look, as much as I love what Zack Snyder was doing, obviously that wasn't the proper way to handle them to become huge hits.
In some elements,
to be big hits is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think the approach was there in terms of having a grounded reality, but I think the execution of some of the characters and their motivation and arcs was definitely something that left a lot to be desired, for sure. But
yeah,
I really like
they're doing an Inspector Gadget movie. Jeez,
I don't know.
Johnny Quest movie? Oh shit! Look at that.
Involved in quite a lot.
Wait a minute. What is this? A Lilo and Stitch? Are they doing a live action Lilo and Stitch movie?
Did we just spoil So much stuff
This is
right
stuff
now.
that I didn't know.
We have so much,
like I
Rob.
know
We have so much breaking news going on. I feel like in all the midst of the chaos, I think you've actually failed to realize that we have not had a daily The Boys segment in here. And I just want to break the news that Jeffrey Dean Morgan is officially a live action remake of Disney's animated. Wow. Is officially joining the cast of The Boys. So I just want to throw that in there on top of all these other bombs that we're kind of releasing. Lilo and Stitch coming to a theater near you for 2024. Live
my
action. Wouldn't
kids
be
are going to
surprised
be
if it has The Rock in it or
ecstatic.
something.
No, don't put The Rock in it. No. Look, I love The Rock, but no, I don't want him in this. This is too special for that. Anyways,
I
no, yeah,
heard.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan being in The Boys, that is going to be awesome. Although I remember hearing that he was going to be in The Boys like a year ago, so I think it's just now
Right.
the
It was just
confirmation.
I think it was just like a scheduling conflict that he wasn't able to join, but I think this is I think he
This is
promised Eric,
official. Yeah, this is
yeah,
official now.
this is like official. And I think he promised Eric Kripke, like, yeah, I'll be there for sure. So and
Yeah,
that's just like a
yeah,
small bomb on top of everything else that's going on right now. Yeah. Dan Lynn's thing is pretty based on.
sorry,
Wow.
I'm just kind of like Lilo and Stitch, Inspector Gadget, and Johnny Quest. Like I'm all for it.
I'm scared for you to scroll down, honestly, at this point.
Well, that's all
See
that's
what else?
upcoming. Everything else is what he's made.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Godzilla versus King.
But
I mean, to be honest with you, just looking at his picture, he seems like he has the I mean, I guess presentable face to like an audience, let's say like fandom and stuff. The way like Kevin Feige kind of exposes himself, but I don't know. I think it's
he
interesting.
exposes himself. Whoa, man.
Whoa. Or kind of presents himself in a way. So
There
I
we go.
think
Presents. There, I like that one better.
going to be interesting for sure. It seems like he has a really good background in terms of producing and stuff. So he sees what's work and doesn't work. But my main concern here is that I don't really see any like comic book movies. I mean, you can't really count the Lego Batman movie.
Yeah, Lego Batman movie. I mean that. Yeah, he's done both of them. I guess the other one is done, or is it still? I don't know. Did it come out? Did I miss it? I don't know. I really like the first one.
I feel like that is like such a debatable argument for that one. Yeah,
yeah. There's really nothing else that.
Two Popes is definitely a recommendation. That has Jude Law and Anthony Hopkins in it. Terminator Salvation. That.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate his resume, not even a little bit, and I like his resume, which means because you take a look, if he's a producer or executive producer, he's got some skin in the game with some of these producer counts and making sure the right directors and right writers are involved. So I gotta say he's got a good resume here.
Nothing's finalized. It seems like he's just in talks, but things could change.
My guess is they're really close though at this point. If THR is reporting on it, I feel like it's close.
Okay.
And my guy, like I don't know. I just had this feeling that with them reporting on it, what's that?
Maybe trying to get feedback from the public in a way. I mean, I don't know.
Or they're just talking about money right now. What are they going to pay him? What's the contract going to look like? Are they like? I can't imagine they probably will do like a 3-year contract or something like that and see how everything goes. But is 3 years enough if you think about it? Because 1 year is going to be taken up by movies that are already made, and then year 2 is going to be making the next movies, and then year 3 you're going to get
that are already in production when he comes in. And those movies. So it's really like a 2-year process at that, and then realistically, is there going to be a gap in between when we see the universe continue in a way? I don't know. I guess The Flash is really going to be one of the most important movies moving forward in this universe. So not that it already wasn't. So.
Look, I hope I'm right. I'm sticking to my theory that they're going to move The Flash. And I said this probably a month or two ago that I thought that could happen. But I'm sticking to my theory that they're moving Flash early to February. So I hope it does happen.
Okay.
But I got to say, I do got to get going. But
Okay.
it was a great episode.
Breaking news
Everyone,
left and right.
let us know what you all think about what's going on here. What do you guys think of Dan Lin possibly coming and being the head of DC Films and TV at Warner Brothers Discovery? I think that's really interesting. I'm interested to see how that would play out. Again, next week, planned right now next week is we are going to talk about Star Wars, the state of Star Wars. That could change if some breaking news happens, just like this week. But that is what we're planning on doing. And obviously, don't forget, scan the little QR code there, ring the little ding-a-lingy bell for notifications when we have new episodes, hit the like, subscribe, all that jazz. You can find us at spoilerverse.com. Find us on all the podcatching apps, so on and so forth. I got nothing else to say. You have anything else to say?
Stay tuned for more news from the Cultured Nerd as well. Definitely try to get as much coverage as we can on this because I feel like this was pretty recent. So definitely have that up on the site and get our analysis on it as well. So stay tuned for that.
Cool. All right, everyone. Talk to you later.